street, Starz. We are the streets. Make sure you ring that bell and subscribe to get the latest interviews and music videos.
Real life street stars, man. We got Officer Bankston back on the couch with us. Was part of the Black Lives Matter discussion we had. First and foremost, thank you for coming back. Thank you for blessing us with your presence. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me back. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. I know a lot of people probably haven't saw that Black Lives Matter open discussion that we had. Of course, you were, influential in that as far as speaking. But for those who didn't see it, please go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know what it is you do and where you're from.
My name is, my title is Senior Corporal Larry Bankston with the Dallas Police Department. And I am a 17-year vet with the Dallas Police Department. But I'm from between Kansas City, Missouri and Bolingbrook, Illinois. Born in Arkansas.
I got family in Arkansas, so Little Rock, man, go.
Yeah, my mom still lives in Little Rock.
Yeah, go Razorbacks. With that being said, I want to start from the beginning as far as with your time on the police force. In the black community, I think when kids are asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? I doubt a police officer is something that just rushes off the tongue. But I do know scenarios do cause people to go in that direction. Was it something you always wanted to do, or is it something that led you to do it?
It's something I never wanted to do. I mean, I grew up, I would say the main place that I grew up was Kansas City, Missouri. And I grew up in the hood, so to speak. But I was an athlete, and I was occupied with sports most of the time. And the guys that were into the hustle, they protected me. They made sure that I was a quarterback of the football team. It was like, no, you do your thing. We got this over here. My cousins and all them, they did their thing. They kept me taken care of.
Yeah.
So it's not something that I ever wanted to do. I mean, but it wasn't like I had a lot of run-ins with the law. I didn't have a lot of run-ins with the law, anything like that. But I did see policemen do some things that was a little disturbing. So
I would say, just for you growing up, what was one of the most disturbing things you saw? Because, everyone watched the movie Colors, as far as in that era, seen Boys in the Hood, seen all that, and they'd be like, man, the police was raw back then, it was like, open season. What was one of the things that you saw was like, man, this is really messed up, whether it happened to you or to a friend of yours?
One of the worst things that I saw, most of the time when I saw my friends getting jacked up by the police, now that I'm older, it was justified. I mean, they were doing things they ain't had no business doing.
Right.
But it was this one incident where I saw these brothers jumping another brother. And I'm talking about, man, they was whooping his butt. I'm talking about, they were beating him so bad, I'm not exaggerating. They kicked him up a hill. They were kicking him up a hill. And I was standing there thinking, man, is somebody gonna help this dude? Like, he is getting stomped out. The police stood around the crowd. It was all white policemen. I didn't see one black cop. And they just watched it. They didn't stop it. They just watched it. And he died.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the guy died, yeah. And,
wow.
That bothered me. I mean, it bothers me to this day every time I think about that. But yeah, they killed him.
Wow, definitely. That could, definitely, stay with you.
Right.
So you joined the force. Is it Dallas? You're in Dallas at this time?
Dallas police officer.
What was one of the reasons or enticing things that got you to join the force?
Well, this is what happened. I was when I was in school, man. I was playing sports. I didn't really like school. If I could go back, I would do better academically. But one of the things that, most of the athletes, we were into the girls. So my first year of college, I ended up slipping up, getting a girl pregnant. And so I had a son. I got custody of my son when he was a baby. And so working different jobs, getting laid off, because I worked for Delphi, which is a subsidiary of GM. And I don't know if you know about those companies, but they lay you off a lot. So I got laid off from Delphi. I moved to Dallas because we would come visit here, and it was between here and Atlanta. Atlanta was too off the chain. I was like, I ain't gonna get nothing done if I move here. So I moved to Dallas, and when I got to Dallas, I ended up getting a job at Boeing. And then 9/11 happened. After 9/11, everybody got laid off. But there were always people telling me I would make a good police officer. It was always police officers telling me, different people, and I was like, man, no, I don't want to be no police officer. But after 9/11, I think it hit all of us. People can act like it didn't, but it bothered everybody that someone, did that to our country or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
So I said, maybe I need to look at this, at being a police officer, because I feel like it's where God is pushing me, and I did pray about it. So God was like, I want you to be a police officer. I felt it. I really felt that unction in my spirit. So I applied for the position, and of course I got it back in 2003. And everything that we're going through today, but I've been speaking out for a long time since I've been on the department.
Yeah.
I understand much better today why God pushed me in this direction. I get it now.
And with that said, I do want to, before we go touch on subjects I want to get to, I want to rebuttal the Black Lives Matter discussion as far as, you were there. We spent like 3 hours here having a conversation. What were your thoughts on just the overall discussion and if you took anything from it?
Well, the overall discussion was, I think it was necessary, and I'm so glad you guys are having this platform. It's professional, it's awesome, man. But there was a lot of tension in the room with certain people, I'll say that.
As expected.
Yeah, as expected. And I believe that we have to have realistic expectations of what we can do to evolve our country. Now, understand what I'm saying. During the panel, I was trying to explain that there's an infrastructure that has to be, that has been built. There's a lot of things that go into policing. And one of the guys was saying, we can police our own neighborhoods, this and that. I can give you one example right off the bat. I don't know how to do a rape kit. She's a police officer. She probably doesn't know anything about a rape kit. If someone gets raped, there's a process that it has evolved now throughout trial and error where we find out through genetics who raped this person. That's why a lot of people are being exonerated from jail today because of that process right there. So that's just one example of law enforcement that has been developed as far as the infrastructure that goes into part of our job. But we talked about banks and they mainly talked about banks. They didn't say anything about hospitals and airports. There's a big infrastructure in America that makes America function the way it does. So at this point, you have to think about who helped build that infrastructure. America's so strong because of the free labor that they got from us. Right? So why would we not take advantage of that infrastructure? Why would we say, oh, no, we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater? That's not smart.
So, and with that said, I do want to touch on some topics, not only from that conversation, but of course some things going forward, and I do want your perspective on it.
Okay.
There was one thing that people were saying, and that is being said, that as a society, we should police ourselves. As far as if you're from the hood, they should police themselves. If you're from the suburbs, police themselves. The Mexicans, the blacks, the Arabs, everyone should, in their community, police themselves. What are your thoughts when it comes to saying police your own?
Well, like I was saying, I think that the infrastructure that has been created, we need to use that, continue to use that to our advantage. There are so many things that go beyond just patrolling the streets with a rifle, stopping people from doing crime that you see with your eyes. There's white collar crime, there's cyber crime now, there's all kind of crimes that are happening that you have to have expertise in that field to be able to catch those criminals. Now, people talking about, well, we're gonna run this block. We've done that. What happens when somebody's running a block and then this person say, well, I want that block too? I don't even need to explain what happens when we take that approach. That doesn't work. So now I think that's a horrible idea.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's funny. When I spoke to you for the first time, trying to get that situation started, you were like, "Man, I'm writing a police report now," and even there's details in that the average Joe just can't just like there's the things that people don't think of, like they don't think of that process of policing. Like you got to be able to account for what you're doing.
Yeah.
I do want to get to the situation with, I believe, Rayshard Brooks in ATL.
Okay.
Are you up to speed as far as what happened in that scenario for the most part?
I think I probably know just as much as you do. I mean, like the information I got is through the media as well. We haven't gotten any extra information on what happened. I saw the video from what they showed, but I don't have anything extra. Now, if you want my opinion on it, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, give me your opinion, because there's a body cam footage that came out. I haven't seen it, but there is some body cam footage that has came out. But from what you know and your knowledge, just what are your overall thoughts on it from your side of things?
Now, I'm gonna hit a few layers of that situation.
Okay.
So first and foremost, part of our job as police officers is to protect the community at large, right? One bullet will kill one person, unless it's a very powerful bullet, like a 50 cal or something. It can go through a bunch of people. But I'm talking about just a 9mm or something like that. So the point I'm trying to make with that man was intoxicated when that officer approached that car. It was that officer's job to get him out of that car. If he would have allowed him just to keep moving, that guy could have took out a whole family, not just one person. And then the question would have been, why didn't they arrest him? He just took out a whole family. Now, that's for the officers, that's on his side. That's a point for him. Now, I'll say this. They did have all his information. They had his car. Once he started fighting and acting a fool and all that, me personally, I would have been like, I would have grabbed my partner, put him back, let him go. We got all his information. We have all his information. You can put evading on him, assault on the public, on a police officer in uniform. You got all the everything that you need. You had all the information you need just to put multiple charges on him if you wanted to do that. I don't think it was worth chasing him and fighting with him and shooting him in the back. I mean, well, now on the flip side, they could have got caught up in a thing of, we got to arrest him. He is fighting him. And then he did turn the taser at the officer and pointed at him. And you got to remember, he was handling both of them physically.
Now, so they're saying a taser is not a lethal weapon.
It's not a lethal weapon. But if he would have paralyzed one officer, he was already handling both of them. If he would have paralyzed one and came back at the other one, he could have got a weapon off one of their belts. That's how it's looked at. But he's fired now. You know what I mean? So I'm just giving you all the different ways to look at it, the different angles to look at it. That's what I'm doing.
So people are asking, well, why didn't the officer just shoot him in the legs?
Okay. You ever been at the gun range?
Yes.
So if you're at the gun range, you're shooting a square target the size of a torso, right?
Correct.
If I take a pit bull and I let that mug loose and let it charge you, you think you're going to hit that target while that pit bull is charging you? Like the small part of the target, not the big part.
Right. No.
So even in Navy SEALs, our best shooters in the world will tell you that if you're in a high-stress situation where your adrenaline has dumped, your accuracy is off. So if that bullet, if I shoot at your hand or if I shoot at your leg or something and that bullet ricochets off the ground or keeps going, the bullet doesn't discriminate. And that bullet hits somebody down the street, guess who's responsible for that? I am.
Very true.
Yeah, so That theory right there, shooting at these little parts, that's that TV stuff. Ain't nobody good like that.
No, very true.
You would have to be what's that guy from Silence of the Lambs where his heartbeat don't even go up when he killing people?
Right.
You would have to be somebody like that. You have to be a psycho murderer to be able to just be accurate while somebody's trying to, fight you.
Right. As calm as steel.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Now, another thing people are saying about that scenario is, I believe he was asleep in the drive-thru line. They were asking, why not just take him home? Why try to arrest him?
Well, that is an option, and we do it often, but it's not the officer's job to do it. We live in an age where we got Uber, we got Lyft. He was irresponsible. He takes some of the responsibility on this. I mean, there was no reason to be intoxicated to the point where you pass out in a Wendy's drive-thru.
Yeah, no, this scenario has happened a multitude of times,
Right.
As far as just with video that leaks with body cams, as far as police officers approaching someone sleeping where they don't know what's going on, they
Right.
get startled. There's other scenarios where, guys didn't even get at the car and they
Right.
were, I don't want to get too much in those.
I know it's happened to me multiple times.
But
I ain't shooting nobody. No.
So but so that goes to my next question as far as with everything going on in the world after the George Floyd situation and the protests and just everything going on in America, the police officer psyche, when you guys are leaving, you're checking in, you're going out to the beat to patrol, is it something that's said within your office as far as, hey, let's not kill somebody today? Or is it something that for you personally, like, okay, let me be more careful when it comes to approaching a scenario because of what's going on? Because I've seen people rioting and the police
Right.
aren't doing anything.
Right.
They're like, let me not stir this up. As a collective whole, they're looking to not. People are breaking the law in front of their eyes, and they're not stirring things up by.
Yeah, doing the rioting. Yeah, they were breaking the law right in front of them, and we just let it roll because it was just too much going on. But as far as your question goes, yeah, they'll say, be safe because, everyone's very tense right now. But at the same time, if it's not necessary for you to put your hands on anybody, don't do it. But some of us function that way every day. I don't carry mace. I don't carry baton because I'm good with these if I have to be, and I'm good with this because I can relate to my people. I can talk to them. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where what I'm trying to get at is that we need people with a diverse mindset to apply for the position. Because another thing that's happening, we're having a big exodus across the nation where police officers are quitting. Okay, you're going to quit because of this? Then this is an opportunity for some of our people that have a diverse mindset coming from the military or whatever that are qualified to apply for the position. It's a good job. It's actually a good job, and it's needed. I mean, I think that my mentoring in the community, along with going after real crime, like, don't get me wrong, a traffic stop can lead to bigger things.
Yeah.
There's a reason for everything that we do. It should be anyway. But if you have a desire, if you have a vested interest in the community, don't just talk about a bunch of unrealistic expectations. We have worked hard to get where we are in America. Like I said, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That ain't the way to go.
Correct. And you touched on something as far as a traffic stop could go any way. Like,
Right.
And I think that, like, we live in a society now to where it's almost frowned or just, it's like a horror story when a police pulls up behind you.
Yeah.
Whatever you are, we don't know which way this is going to go because, every video we see seems to be with a traffic stop. The last time we spoke, you said the best things for someone to do is just comply, even
Right.
if the officer's degrading them or they feel like it's an unjust stop. Just comply and then complain.
Right.
As far as file a complaint.
Yeah.
For those watching at home, I do want them to kind of, like I said, I want you to kind of touch base on that one more time.
Okay.
But also go through the process of filing a complaint because I know a lot of people probably don't know what you mean by, okay, file a complaint. Where do we start?
Well, if you feel that an officer is mistreating you, and he's degrading you. It's just a simple traffic stop. And trust me, even as a police officer, I've had to do it. An officer stopped my mother in Arkansas, and he was talking to her crazy. I drove all the way from Dallas to Arkansas.
4 hours ago.
Yeah, 5. Right. And I was like, nah, we're going to handle this tonight. So I went up to his station and complained and made sure that complaint was official. Because what happens is if an officer gets so many complaints, where there's smoke, there's fire. And nobody wants to get those. They can get federally audited. And if they see, hey, wait a minute, you have an officer that keeps getting, like Officer Chauvin. He had 18 bad complaints. It wasn't like minor stuff. He had something that wasn't, and I think that's gonna make them look. It's even better now that if an officer is out of control to really complain, because they're realizing through this incident, those complaints have merit.
Is there like a cap on complaints that an officer can get, or they just look at it case by case?
No, it's case by case.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, if the part like Ferguson, they got federally audited, so the federal government took over Ferguson.
That's it.
And nobody wants that. No police department wants the federal government to take over their municipality.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So they are saying that a possible solution or consequence of this is defunding police departments. It's trying to happen in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And other departments are talking about this. What are your thoughts on defunding the police?
I think that's a bad idea. I mean, in some instances, in some areas, it's a good idea because it's reallocating funds. And if you're reallocating funds for officers to do things that they're not qualified for, which is one of our biggest problems in this country right now, is mental illness. And it doesn't discriminate. It is mental illness across the board. That's why opiates are our greatest addiction. The biggest addiction right now is opiates.
What's the craziest addiction that you had to face or confront while on the job?
Wet.
I know that was serious. I know that was serious.
Everybody want to get naked and fight, man, when they high on wet.
I'm telling you, Super Saiyan power.
Yeah, and they strong and they slippery. I mean, man, and don't let them be fat too. You trying to grab on? It's just not the. It's bad, man. It's bad.
I've seen
bro.
videos.
Yeah. So wet. People high on wet, and I think wet is a combination of LSD and embalming fluid, and they soak it in a cigarette and freeze it and smoke it.
Yeah.
And whatever. But that is the worst. I mean, people do some of the craziest things, and they get, like you said, super strong when they're on it. The only thing you can basically do is knock the wind out of them to try to get them under control, man. Like,
has it been a situation where you got overpowered by someone on some wet?
I didn't get overpowered by somebody on wet, but they were hard to catch. It was like catching a chicken or herding a cat. It was hard, man. It was hard.
So you personally, how much of a chase do you give before you say, man?
At this age? Nah.
Now we ain't gonna give it to him.
You have to punch me in my face. I chase you to the gates of hell. You punch me in my face.
There you go.
But other than that, I'm like, nah, man, I'm not doing that. Okay.
There
you good. I get you later. Yeah.
Right.
I got your information. I write your ticket. This ticket will find you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were saying mental illness is
Right.
what you feel is culpable of a lot of the problems that's going on. So
it is. And all jokes aside, man, we really need our people to step up, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a protest, but it needs to be some kind of movement where we are telling our people that we need some help with this whole mental illness situation, because essentially drug abuse is someone trying to self-medicate. Drug abuse is not criminal. It's someone trying to self-medicate. So we catch somebody with a little crack rock and we throw them in jail. I mean, like, what is that accomplishing? How is that really helping society? You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, it's not like I don't know no brothers that own any cocoa fields. Do you? I ain't heard of one. I mean, there's some brothers that have been big time as far as selling, but I don't know none on the cocoa field. You get where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
So the thing that we're seeing in the poor communities is people more or less trying to self-medicate. And if you have a conversation with some of these people, they got some interesting stories. They really do. Some of them have been abused. Some of them, one of the saddest ones I ever heard, I asked her, hey man, you're pretty smart. How did you end up on this stuff? My mother. I'm like, what? Yeah, my mother let me try it because she was on it and I got hooked on it. It's hurtful. I mean, for me, you know, being a black person from the hood and trying to figure out how to fix some of these problems, it's hurtful because that's not criminal, man. It's someone trying to get these demons off of them. They're trying their best to figure it out. Right.
So, as of what's going on in the world right now with the protests, you being on, you know, the police side of the of law enforcement and of the law, what are your thoughts when you see the protesters, you know, yelling at the police, screaming at each one of them? Don't know them from Adam, but you know, treating them just the frustration that they have, what they're seeing in society.
You can curse me out, you can yell, my peace cannot be breached. I don't care, but do not touch me. That's the only thing that I have a problem with. Like you can vent. I totally understand your vent, and you don't know me. What you know is this uniform, and you're tired of what the uniform has represented for you. But however, we even got to get past that. We got to start realizing there's a lot of good people in this uniform. But I know people don't want to hear this, but the bad apples just stink so loud, they overpower all the good ones. You got to think about it. I mean, people don't want to hear these stats, but we have about 300 million contacts a day. I mean, across the world, you know, across the country, not the world, across the country. We have a lot of contacts a day with citizens. Out of those contacts, you got to think about how many times it goes bad. It's a fraction of 1%. You know what I mean? But still, it's unjust, and unjust is unjust. It just sometimes it just shouldn't happen. But it's been interesting dealing with this protest because, like, can I give you a story real quick?
Go ahead.
I had a white girl ask me, I was on the front, it was some kids just going off. And she says, why are you over there with them, black man? I said, do you even know? I said, wait a minute, are you gonna yell at me or are you gonna talk to me? She said, wait a minute. She said, are you gonna talk to me or are you tricking me? I said, no, I'm not tricking you, I wanna have a conversation. She said, okay, and all of them started listening. I took my helmet off. I said, okay, let's talk. I said, do you know that in Texas, that black officers could not arrest white people at one point in our history? And then she was like, no, I didn't know that. I said, so the civil rights movement was also for me to be able to be in this uniform. They were protesting for me to be in this uniform, to be so my community could have representation. That is why the Black Panther Party was formed, because white KKK rogue officers were going into the black community, terrorizing it. So that's why the Black Panther Party was formed. But now, at some point, I can't remember what year it was, but we were finally given the same rights as the white officers, but the black officers were still mistreated for a long time. I'm talking about some of these people are still alive.
I can see. So
for me to be in this uniform is officer presence for the black community as well. If an officer has bad intentions, you hear about officers' presence to stop someone from breaking into a business or something like that, or they have officers at the door in front of a club to say, oh man, they got real police here, you can't be acting up. Well, officer presence also works for some officers that may have bad intentions. If I'm standing there, they ain't gonna do nothing. I don't have any hiring and firing power, but I do have power to be present. And if they're doing something that they don't got no business doing, I can handle that the best I can. If they just outwardly just do something, I can start a paper trail on them. But I I don't have any firing power, just like most people on their jobs. They can't say, I don't like this person. I think they're a racist. You're fired.
Right.
You can't do that. And I hear people say that all the time. Why don't y'all do something about the bad officers? We're trying. But it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work where we can just say, he's a racist, he's a bad officer. You have to have substantial evidence. And just like kids learn to hide their poor behavior at an early age, it don't change with adults.
All right. Very true. Very true.
Right.
So I do have to ask you then, let's talk solutions as far as, I'm going to throw out some hypothetical things that people say should happen. This is discussed between me and people I know, and some stuff is crazy, some stuff maybe it needs to happen.
Yeah.
One thing that they said should happen is police officers, before they become a police officer, whether through basic training or whatever, they should spend 2 weeks in jail just to get a sense of what it feels like so they can know where they're sending people. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't have to get shot to know this gun work. I'm not about to sit in jail. No. I don't like that idea.
All right. No. There was another suggestion as far as police who do fire their weapon and end up shooting somebody who's unarmed. Not if they're armed, but if they're unarmed.
Right.
That police officer should then get arrested. And then after whether body cam or evidence comes forward, they should then be released and, of course, let due process take place.
Well, people don't understand this, but every time an officer discharges his weapon and there's an investigation. If you shoot and kill somebody, you are investigated for homicide. People don't know that, but the officer is investigated for homicide even if it's a justified shooting. But say, for instance, it's nighttime and you shoot somebody that's stealing the rims off your car. We come out, on your property. We come out, he was stealing the rims on his car, it's nighttime, good shooting. They're gonna investigate you for homicide, but you're not gonna get arrested. There's a lot of people that have had citizens, that's what I'm talking about, citizens, that have had to get the same treatment we get when they shoot somebody justly. Now, if it's a obvious, unjust shooting, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the officer being arrested if you can prove right there on the spot that it was unjust. But you can't just start arresting officers because it's our job to protect the community. I understand that some people don't want to hear that right now, but that is the truth. It's our job to protect the community, and you don't want them hesitating in protecting you. You get what I'm saying? Because
exactly,
that shot might save your life.
So there was also, and we spoke on it as far as what's the incentive for either an officer, speaking up against maybe the bad apples, or even what's the incentive as far as to not having so many complaints on your background? Do you feel like that could help as far as if there was an incentive for officers to not have those complaints, or kind of conduct themselves more to where their peers are holding them accountable for whatever reason?
I'm 100% with you. I think they need to be incentivized to hold their peers accountable, because there is peer pressure for those younger guys. I didn't come into policing like that, so it's never been like that for me. I didn't have that mentality where if I felt like you did something wrong, where I wasn't gonna hesitate to say, nah, man, that was wrong. This is what he did. I don't care how you all do what you got to do, but this is what happened. But I think there needs to be some sort of way where officers can come forth and basically whistleblow without feeling like they're going to have consequences. Now, I will say this. A lot of things that we see, and I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't think about this. A lot of things that we do see in the media are leaked by officers. We don't think about that.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, a lot of those videos are coming from an officer that said, this is wrong. They leak it.
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get out of here, just some questions about you in general. You gave me a story early on saying that, I walked in with a Leahs shirt on.
Oh, yeah.
You said you was actually able to rub on a Leahs belly.
I rubbed her belly.
That's all I took from that. But tell us, how did that scenario come about one more time as far as how did you get to rub on a Leahs belly, man?
I was when I was younger, when I finished playing football in college, I used to do a little bit of modeling, and I was doing a campaign for a clothing designer in LA, and we all went out one night, and this was back in the 90s. We all went out one night, and then while we were walking in the club, she was walking in. Now, this is when people used to dance on the dance floor and stuff like that. Y'all don't do that no more.
Right.
But anyway, so when she walked past, I was like, looking at her like, are we going to go to the dance floor? She was like, come on. And she had a half shirt on. So we went out there and we were dancing. And I was like, I got to do something. So I just rubbed her belly. But
did you know it was her?
It was definitely her.
I mean, did you know it though? Or it was just.
When I first saw her, I didn't know it was her. But when I started dancing with her, I realized it was her. And I was like, oh. But these big-ass bouncers came and snatched her up as soon as I did that. So I was like, "Woo!"
That's lit, man.
I thought they were gonna get me, but they just snatched her off the dance floor. So
that's lit.
That's lit. How that went. Yeah.
What is your favorite police movie?
My favorite police move?
Yeah, police movie.
Movie. I don't know. I don't know if he's it's Denzel's Man on Fire. Is he a policeman?
He's
CIA agent.
Yeah, CIA.
It's law enforcement.
Yeah, he's some kind of law enforcement.
Equalizer. All his stuff is dope. I love both Equalizers, and I love Man on Fire. All three of them, man. That's all me.
Definitely.
It's all me.
And this is Real Life Street Star, so we do have to touch on some music, man. What music are you currently listening to, or your favorite artist, whether in the city or?
I like T.I. a lot.
Okay.
I like T.I., but I'm probably a little. I don't know if T.I. is still hot for the younger generation, but
he's still hot. I mean, he still make noise. He still make noise.
Yeah, I like T.I. I like what's his name? Real conscious rapper.
There's Kendrick, J. Cole. There's
J. Cole.
Okay.
J. Cole and Kendrick. And then because I grew up in Kansas City, I'm always going to have to shout out Tech Nine.
Okay, yeah. Shout out Tech Nine for real,
Tech Nine, that's my boy.
Loyal fan base, man. Loyal fan base.
Yeah, but I like those guys. I like Logic, too.
Definitely. Is there anyone in Dallas that you know of that, if anyone?
Besides Big Tuck?
Oh, yeah. That's all you got to say.
Okay. yeah.
Big Tuck gets all the respect. All the respect.
Yeah.
Man, so I brought you in here to speak. Thank you for coming and speaking on this, but I do want you to, of course, close out with, there's just a lot of tension between the protesters and the police. And what's your idea of this campaign? F12. What's your thoughts on that when you see that spray painted on?
Well.
That's the hashtag now.
Well, I don't know, man. People have to understand that we all got to hustle. And this just happened to be my hustle. And trust me, man, most of us would love to be hunting down real evil. But that's something that we as a society are going to have to start pushing for our police departments to do. Like human trafficking is a problem.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we don't have a bigger task force going after that. But I want everyone to understand that we got to have law enforcement because we don't want to have a lawless land. We don't want to lose the quality of life that we have here in America. I know it might seem rough, but trust me, there's countries that are way worse. This conversation that we're having, we would get killed for having this conversation in some countries. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So.
And it's crazy because, I know there's a lot of scenarios that could have played out if a female never said, I'm going to press the 9 and the 1. If you don't get out of my face.
Right.
We got to be scared of something.
Right.
to bag up.
Right.
We got to be scared of something. So, there was no 9-1, press whatever you want. It's about to go down. So, we need something to put some fear in our hearts. So, trust me, I definitely get it. We just want to be able to have everyone come to some understanding that there is bad apples out there, but do not judge everyone. I mean, my English teacher was a police officer, man. He was an Omega, and he was one of the coolest cats I ever known.
Okay.
He was just one of the coolest cats I ever known back when I was in school. So, it is what it is. But for those that, and I know you normally do post on social media.
Oh, yeah.
You do post on Facebook. I want you to go and give them your information as far as how to find you, how to follow you. I know you do stay active with it.
Larry Bankston Jr. on Facebook. Larry Bankston Jr. You'll see me up there like this. And on Instagram, it's Bankston Hughes, like the color, Bankston Hughes.
Definitely. And any shout-outs you want to give to anyone out there that maybe
all my kids in the West End Transfer Center, they call me Unc.
Oh, yeah.
I got one of them over here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that's about it. My personal kids, shout out to them. And I just appreciate the time and the conversation, man. Thank you.
There you go, man. Officer Corporal Larry Bankston. If y'all see him in the streets, they call him Unc.
They call me Unc.
Definitely, man. He, walk up, shake his hand, man. He's nothing but goodness. He has a lot of education on him. He has a lot of knowledge on him, and he actually wants the best for everyone. So y'all make sure y'all go follow him. I definitely appreciate you coming to sit down with us, man. And I got to say, man, you're on the streets, so therefore that makes you a real life street star, man.
Thank you.
We salute you. We salute you.
Thanks.
Shout out Reallyfe Street Stars, nigga. Move. Hey.